and welcomes to another episode of Beacons of Creations, a weekly podcast on games designs through the lenses of Magic's The Gatherings. I'm Juliet.
It's that one character. I'm Tim. It's that one character from Letterkenny.
Letterkenny, gotcha.
Oh, Squirrely Dan.
Great.
The Letterkenny watchers will know. But separate from Canadian comedies, we've got the second part of our challenge review that we're working on right now. These challenge review episodes, this is our main way to kind of interact with all of you, to kind of get better at design, think hard about card design. And this is not about, is the card good or bad? This is figuring out what the card's about, unpacking, like, what format would it be good in? Can we use this technology anywhere? Could we get a bunch of cards out of this? And actually getting a bunch of cards out of a card idea is a big part of our challenge.
Our challenge for this month was Incarnation Day, designing an incarnation that could be part of a cycle. Then we had a number of bonus points. The kind of big one to the side would be maybe this card could be printed in like a Foundations 2 or a Foundations Jumpstart. And then we had 5 different bonus points for each of the 5 colors of magic. If your card is white, its name is a regal virtue. Blue, its name is about ink or octopi. Black, your name deals with the Gnostic separation of mind and body. Red, it's a cowboy word. Green, flowers, with the names Incarnation, 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 Intarnation, and Incarnation.
These incarnations, we've already done one episode on this. These are usually big-ish creatures, 5 mana, 6 mana, typically, though not always. And then they have some, like we could imagine, something would be shared between them. Either they all have the same evoke cost, or they all have a similar vanishing clause we saw in the last episode. So that's what we want to try to imagine with these cards. It's not just the card itself, which we're going to talk through, but also what the other 5 or 10 cards of a cycle would be.
Mm-hmm. Our first submission for this episode is from Juliet. And it is a incarnation named Inquiry. It's triple two-brid gold. So in the style of like the Tarkir Dragonstorm 3-color hybrid cards. So 2 aura white, 2 aura blue, 2 aura black together. So you can cast this for 3 mana or 6 or a variety of things in between. It's a 4/4 legendary creature, Sphinx Incarnation. And it has pay 1 generic mana. Inquiry gains flying until end of turn. And whenever a player casts a spell, you may reveal a card. If you do, the caster may reveal another card from their hand, matching the type of that spell or the revealed card. If they do, surveil 2. If they don't, return the spell to its owner's hand.
Wow. Okay. So I go to cast an instant, you reveal a creature, and then if I have a creature, then...
Or an instant.
If I have a creature or an instant, then I sort of pass your test, and I'm able to continue, casting my spell or finish casting my spell. Mm-hmm. But as a consolation, as the Inquiry owner, you get to scry 2 or surveil 2. If I can't pass that test, then it goes back to my hand. Mm-hmm. So if I only have 1 card in hand and you have a different type of card, like if I only have an instant and you have a creature, I can't get that instant through. If I have a couple cards in hand, then I could probably hopefully get past Inquiry's wall here. Like if I have 3 or 4 cards in hand, one of them is going to match either the spell I already cast or something that you have.
And I, the controller of Inquiry, need to make sure I have a card in my hand. So that card is kind of not dead, but sitting there, like that's a card that I need to keep in my hand. And then once you've seen that card, you know what that card is. And so now you can go, okay, I can either match that card or, carry this other thing. So if you know I have a creature, then you just know, okay, I need to draw a creature and use that as my like counter for that creature. And then I'm like, okay, now you've got a creature card in your hand. I need to keep 2 cards in my hand. So now I can reveal a land card. And you're like, okay, now I can hold on to a land card and beat that. And so It's uh like a matching of a potentially changing riddle.
Oh, okay. If I'm thinking of playing against this, if I just have a second card of that type in my hand, I can get my spells through.
Yes, yeah, that's the other way to
Yeah.
do. If your entire deck is creatures,
Yes.
you just
Okay.
always can get a creature through.
So this like punishes opponents who are playing a wide variety of card types and encourages you to play an exotic variety of card types.
Or
If-
to have a like, I don't know, I'm playing all artifacts and you don't have any artifacts, and so I need you
yeah.
to like
Yeah.
forcing you to double up or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
You can luck out. Yeah.
Hmm.
I guess the main thing you don't want to do is have to reveal land. And then like up from
Hmm.
there, there's some normal card types, but if you add a couple extra planeswalkers or extra battles or something like that, now you're not making it any easier for the opponent to get their spells through. And it makes it at that point quite hard for the opponent to empty their hand. Um I would sort of think of like hand emptying is like more on the limited side. And, this is a mythic, so maybe this is a little more of a constructed puzzle. So maybe your vision of this card is that like it should be reasonably doable for people to get past inquiry. Because, in Commander or something, everyone's got like 4 or 5 cards in hand typically.
What I wanted to make sure didn't happen is this is a really easy way to pay 3 mana and just lock your opponent like permanently out
Yeah.
of the game
Yeah.
while still having like, hey, even if you succeed on everything every time you cast a spell, I do get to surveil too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you aren't necessarily going to be able to cast every spell that you want to as quickly as you want to or on the turn that you
Mhm.
want to.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a lock. It's a little, or a speed bump more than a lock.
Hmm.
In some cases, it'll be quite severe. In some cases, it will not be severe at all. I think the other piece to this that I'm trying to think through is this happens for every spell cast. So even if I control inquiry,
Hmm.
I can still participate in this. So
Hmm.
you're the controller of inquiry. You go to cast the instant. You reveal a creature from your hand, and then I,
Hmm.
as the opponent, as the non-controller, I have the opportunity to match one of the two of those.
No. Whenever a player casts a spell, so if I control inquiry, I cast an instant.
Yeah.
I can reveal a card
Yeah.
or not. Let's say I do
Mhm.
have it. If this is my last card in hand, then I just don't do anything and it resolves normally. If instead though I cast an instant and I reveal a land from my hand, I
Hmm.
can choose to reveal that land again
Oh.
and surveil too, or
All right.
not reveal that land again and bounce my instant back to my hand if for some reason I want to be
Storming
returning
or
a spell to
something.
my, yeah, doing some sort of thing like that. So
Okay.
there are options, but yeah, it's always increase controller plus the caster of the spell are the two people or one person involved in the process.
Yeah, you control inquiry and you're casting spells. It's all kind of self-contained. You can either reveal or not. You can try to surveil or bounce or whatever else. The opponent's not
Hmm.
really involved at that point.
Hmm.
I guess what I'm trying to think through is like, this is sort of, even if things are going well for the opponent, this is anytime anyone casts a spell, you're surveilling too. Uh, or you can likely surveil too. You might not always do so.
Hmm.
Adding a surveil 2 to every spell cast is maybe a decent amount of extra time to spend in a game for what maybe isn't the main point of the card. But
Mm. Hmm.
like a surveil 1 to surveil 2 feels like a surveil 1 is, 5 seconds of gameplay, and a surveil 2 is often like 15 seconds of gameplay or so.
That's a great point. I tend to think of Surveil 2 as being relatively quick because I'm used to playing it in a like modern constructed sort of context
Hmm.
where I'm whenever I'm surveilling, I'm anticipating and knowing the thing I want next. And if I'm playing surveil in a deck, I probably want my graveyard filled. And
Hmm.
so it's like, hey, I'm gonna put anything in the graveyard but a land, or I'm gonna put anything in a graveyard but my draw spell as like the
Yeah.
two. But it's true that printing a card like this or putting out in the wild, people are going to be surveilling to a bunch of times, and that Yeah, that's a time cost that I wasn't factoring in
Yeah.
because Surveil 2 in my head is like such a shortcut for Mill 2. Maybe put one of them on in your on top of your library.
Yeah, maybe it's the difference between like effects like playing as one of the surveil lands or just like a card that has a surveil rider or
Hmm.
like has repeatable surveil, but like you're paying life each time or something.
Hmm.
Like those are all like intentional and at the point in time where you're ready to be thinking about this.
Hmm.
You play your surveil land. I, I think what you're saying is pretty accurate. You've like pre-compiled what your conclusion's going to be. You kind of know even before you pick up that card what you would like to do with it. I think once you start to put in the same place where players are casting arbitrary spells, now you're also thinking about that spell, and maybe you're not quite
Right.
as yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I went through a number of different like four color word
Oh,
concepts, both in like just trying to figure out what I would want to do and what that
hmm
would look like and what what are some words that could fit like four different bonus points. And I ended up kind of resolving back down to three because I wanted to make a cycle more possible. And one of the things that I ended up thinking about was doing incarnations of the like iconic types, like as a cycle. So you would get a Sphinx incarnation, an angel incarnation, a dragon incarnation as these sort of things, and then trying to do that in triple two grid so that you go, hey, a Sphinx is very Esper y. It's got a focus in blue, but it's got these, inquiry as this idea is we want inquiry from our our monarchs and leaders. I think that's a pretty good regal virtue. It's got ink in the name, and it is part of the pursuit of the the Gnostic separation there. But really thinking about yeah, how would you feel about triple two grid legend cycle and
Hmm.
or like how much does this even feel like an incarnation or does it just feel like
Hmm.
this is a sphinx without the incarnation component?
That's a good question. I think this if this was just locked non-hybrid or non-two-brid, like if it was just white,
Mhm.
blue, black, that would probably just feel more like a regular Sphinx to me.
Mhm.
But something about this like weird mana cost, it has, and because it has the weird mana cost that we haven't talked about it yet, but it has this like activated flying.
Mhm.
Now I'm starting to not think this is a regular Sphinx, or at least it's signaling to me it's not a regular Sphinx. Hmm. Yeah, I would say it does a decent job of almost like a changeling. Like this is a incarnation that is attempting to assume the form of a Sphinx, but isn't maybe like a Sphinx that was born and grew up. I don't know.
Mhm. Yeah.
I thought it was kind of interesting. So you have like flying, you have to pay one mana to get flying. I was trying to think through that, and I think that that might actually be a pretty effective way to allow these two brid cards to have keyword abilities that they should have.
Mhm.
Because, like, if I just play this in a green deck and it's a 6 mana 4/4 that I have to pay one to get flying, that would be an acceptable artifact creature. The other ability maybe is a little crazy in green, but uh, at, at least for the ability to gain flying, I feel like you end up with a pretty good cost. And I think that like this is maybe like a underused thing of the like paying a mana to get something that's otherwise kind of basic. Like paying one mana to get flying whenever you need flying is like a decent cost. Like you probably aren't able to do it the turn you play this. And then if you want to do it in future turns, you're giving up on, if you need to pay an extra mana on turn 4 or 5 or 6 because you want to attack in. Like you often want that mana. Like you often want to
Mhm.
be carving out and spending all your mana.
If it also just had native flying, I'm like, you're just ending the game
Yeah.
before your
hmm
opponent can like
hmm
figure out the riddle. And like the one mana to gain flying isn't slowing you down that much, but it is making a big impact in how much you're able to just attack for four in the air the next three turns while also like limiting your opponent in other ways.
hmm
I I don't know how well this could work in a foundations sort of perspective, but It's not implausible because they would want iconic types. This is a relatively safe way to introduce hybrid to players because like it's a mythic or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
you can learn the thing.
The two brid is maybe not the part that I'm the most concerned about. It feels like this.
Gotcha.
I think of like Foundation's mythics, they are really clear that they're good for you, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. Well, that is a little bit complicated, but I know I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that makes sense. I also wanted to include this card. I came up with other and potentially better designs later,
Hmm.
but it is good to come up with something and finish it and put it out into the world
Yeah.
rather than like perfect it,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Hmm.
And this is me practicing what I preach on
Oh,
that front,
okay.
and being like
All
I've
right.
finished a card.
This is a complete enough card. Absolutely.
Yeah,
This is a
I'm,
totally legit good submission. Yeah. I like
I'm
that.
going to hear other people's point of view because they might notice something that I'm totally missing. And so then I spend all the time polishing a thing and I missed a, an obvious thing. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, this is a good I mean, it's a great submission. I obviously know that you submit good cards. You don't need me to tell you that. Next up, we got a card from VT Basemat. It's called Buoyancy. It's 2 and a blue for a creature Incarnation. Attacking creatures you control have flying as long as defending player controls an island. It's a 2/1. 2 and a blue, 2/1. Attacking creatures you control have flying as long as defending player controls an island.
Flying Island Walk.
Yeah, Flyland Walk. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Which is better than Flyland Home.
Yeah, there you go.
Though, honestly, I think as a 2/1, this has elements of Flyland Home
Mm,
in the sense of I may not want to attack if my opponent doesn't have an island.
yeah.
But one good thing is, it's non-trivial, but it's also not particularly difficult in blue to have your opponent controlling an island. That's something
Yeah.
that they have like many different vectors
Yeah.
to accomplish, in addition to blue being the strongest color in Magic the Gathering and islands being played in many decks.
Hmm.
I also have to give a quick shout out to just the name Buoyancy. Buoyancy is one of
Mm.
my favorite things.
Oh, okay.
It is, I think of Buoyancy as one of like a few hallmarks of Juliet, like educational design, because I strongly believe that buoyancy is something that we can teach to very, very young children.
Oh.
And like in my experience is not something that anybody else is trying to teach to very, very young children. I'm like, no,
Mm.
buoyancy is so fun, and it isn't something that a lot of adults think about or even necessarily like have a really like concrete worldview on exactly how it works. And it's like, here it's fun. It's easy to break down to 3 syllables. I'm a big buoyancy believer in practical demonstrations of physical
Mm.
sciences.
Okay. High on buoyancy. I mean,
Uh-huh.
that's what you want.
Uh-huh.
Let's see. I guess this is trying for the almost like pre-foundations, like the core set level of uh simple but grand effect. Like all your creatures gain flying as long as like a colory thing is true, as long as your opponent is also blue.
Hmm. Would this be alongside
Mm.
a red incarnation with creatures you control have haste as long as defending player controls a mountain?
I think it's really easy to understand the card. This is certainly foundations level comprehension.
Hmm.
And so maybe we're looking for a little bit of that sideboard play. We're looking for a little bit of like cards that are good against some opponents but not other opponents.
Hmm.
I think that's like one of the kinds of cards that I find the least appealing personally is cards that like are awesome against one opponent and are awful against another opponent, but are
Hmm.
probably not like constructed level cards. Like I think that's one of the niches that I just appreciate the least as a player, maybe.
Sure.
Not to say that this doesn't have strengths to the design, but just that I don't foresee myself wanting to put this buoyancy in a deck.
It's funny because I can anticipate the cycle side from there as part of the main challenge. I do think from a foundations perspective, I can envision this in a like flood counter themed jumpstart pack,
Hmm. Yeah.
if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Sure. Yeah.
And it compared to Island Walk, which would make them unblockable, this gets you flying. It doesn't get you flying on blocking. So using this counter against a like blue
Hmm.
deck full of flyers isn't necessarily going to help you, but it also means that your opponent can block your flying creatures a little bit more. I don't know. That's
Yeah. That's another
where you
piece.
play
Yeah.
this is a really weird question about like, does this have a limited place? Does this have a jumpstart place? Does this have a
Yeah.
constructed place? I'm
Mhm.
not sure. Yeah.
That's something I started to think about too, where like if the opponent controls an island, they are the most likely to be able to not care about buoyancy, which makes some of the other aspects of the card where it's like a relatively small creature, that it's conditional. All those things kind of combine to make me a little hesitant to want to put this specific card as it is in a deck.
Hmm. And I think that might be a here's a great card in a file that then
Mm,
you figure out some other elements of like another incarnation in the set, and then
mm,
you apply this text to whatever cycles out the other things, or it's this
mm.
plus a keyword or whatever, this
Yeah.
plus unearth or this plus some sort of extra thing. I
Mm,
think could really help get this over. But it's a
mhm.
great like piece of text on its own, but I don't feel like I have a finished card there. VT Basement says this would be a cycle of physical forces which grant
Mm,
combat abilities based on the opponent's lands.
mhm.
Like Newtonian physics fixed earlier models, these fix Landwalk.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Very fun.
makes sense to me. Thanks for the submission, and buoyancy certainly deals with octopuses,
Hmm.
with
Okay.
octopi.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
makes sense to me. Our next submission is from Stellar. It's Mortality
Mm,
for 4 black and a black. That's 6 mana for a 5/4 creature elemental incarnation. When this creature enters, each player sacrifices half of the non-land permanents they control, rounded up. And then it has Unearth for the
oh.
same thing as its mana cost, for black and a black.
Huh.
A thing that immediately comes to mind is if you cast this and it's the only thing you have
Yeah.
other than
Mhm,
than lands, it also dies, which
mhm.
maybe you don't mind because you're going to be able to then unearth it 2 turns later or even the next turn to like keep winnowing away your opponent's boards.
That makes sense. Yeah, I kinda want to keep the overall board under control. I don't mind that I don't have a board because of other reasons, you know?
Mhm. Another thing that immediately comes to mind is how if you have enough food or treasure, you can really keep mortality at bay.
Oh, you
if you
buy your
have
way into yeah, sure.
if you just have things that aren't your creatures or real permanents, if they're just tokens,
Mm.
just keep sacrificing those and that will help you quite a bit.
Yeah, there's a lot of routes to getting, like, a large number of chumpy permanents. You don't necessarily benefit from having, like, ten treasures in play because now you're sacrificing, like, kind of a real amount of treasure. But you're right that it can, like, deflect or defend your most important permanents.
And it's just funny to mirror
Yeah,
reality with like if
there
you have
you
enough food or treasure.
go. It's kinda simple in maybe a little more complicated than the last card, but it feels simple in the same sort of way where I see this, I know exactly how it works. I can imagine that this is not a card I wanna put in every deck, but it has, like, a cool place in some decks. Because of that, I feel like it's a really solid card.
Mhm.
I think the Unearth is, like, a nice angle to it because 6 mana, kind of conditional card, I would say, if this didn't have Unearth, if it was just the enters text. Like that's like putting it in a place where I don't really want a 6-mana card that is this conditional. If I'm playing like a 6-mana card, I want it to be a hammer. But with Unearth, now I have a ton more flexibility because now I can mill it and I can get this card for free, basically. Or, well, free in terms of card value.
Mhm.
And it can attack. So, like, yeah, I think the Unearth is a good way to get a 6-mana effect that is a little conditional into decks.
I think the unearthed case is particularly interesting in, you have this in your graveyard. If you're paying 6 mana to bring it back, of course it has haste. If it leaves the battlefield or at the end of the turn, you exile it. If you bring this back, everybody sacrifices half their stuff. You might just sacrifice mortality, and then you're like, that's fine. It was going to go away anyways. But on the other hand, you might want to attack for like 5 power of like hasty creature that you don't care if it dies in combat or anything. And so you might want to sacrifice something else that like would have been more permanent than your mortality. And that too is like, here's a reminder of mortality. Your thing goes, and then mortality goes away. Like mortality fits with Unearth in, I think, a really clever way. And so it makes me wonder, is this going to be like a cycle of 6-mana incarnations, each with a different like 6-mana cost keyword sort of thing? Or is it going to be a cycle of Unearth incarnations, both of
Yeah.
which are interesting?
Yeah, I think I like the Unearth Incarnations.
Mm-hmm.
Some colors are more unearthy than other colors, but I think it's close
Sure.
enough that you could just do it on all of them. Like this card, in my opinion, is a little conditional, and being able to print 4 more kind of conditional effects that are still big, that are still, things you want to do. That's kind of exciting design wise. I think that's a fruitful space.
This reminds me in some ways of, I can't remember all of the cards, but I remember Soul of Zendikar. I'm pretty sure is one of them.
Yeah.
The attempt, or what I felt like from some of the middle M sets, to be a replacement for the Titans cycle, as here are these big monocolor creatures, and they would have, here's his ability, and then pay this cost to just exile me from your graveyard to get like another of that ability. Unearth does that kind of more cleanly alongside the when this creature enters.
Okay.
But you do have to, at that point in time, you wouldn't just put Unearth in a core set. These days, I think if you're spelling Unearth out, you can have a cycle of Unearth cards in like Foundations, and it
Yeah.
kind of is okay.
Yeah, you could have these 5 and you could have like 6 other cards in the format or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Foundations, you probably want to keep the reminder text. So, can you do a
Mm-hmm.
cool conditional effect in 3 lines of rules text across 5 cards? Hopefully, yeah. The souls to just to give one of them, like Soul of Zendikar, you talked about, is 6 mana, 6/6 reach. Pay 5 mana, get a beast, or pay 5 mana, exile it from your graveyard, get a beast. So it has an ability in play, and then like you get the same sort of ability in your graveyard. And I think you're right. Like Unearth sort of lets you do that, but without just repeating the same text twice,
Mm-hmm.
which is a little more elegant.
Mortality also, obviously, great shoe in for
Sure.
the Gnostic separation of mind and body. This art even helps us get to, hey, are you going to be sad to see like your body go if your mind is a thing that sticks around? Who can say the psychopump or the demiurge?
All right. Next up from Player's Grade, we've got Pragmatism. This is 3 white black for a picture of a stoic, regal mage who has a brash-looking spirit projection behind them. Is this a JoJo reference? It's a creature elemental incarnation of 5/5. So 5 mana, 5/5 in black-white. Sacrifice this creature. Prevent all damage that would be done to you this turn. Sacrifice another non-token creature you control. This creature gains indestructible until end of turn.
Huh.
Get not quite a fog because it's only damage to me, but I can sort of fog. I can give up my 5/5 to get a fog, or I can give up any of my other creatures to make this indestructible and get some combat superiority.
I feel like the fact that these two abilities don't work together
Hmm.
is going to be misleading to some number of players who
Hmm.
go, well, I should be able to give this indestructible. It's like, well, but indestructible doesn't do anything to
Being
sacrificing.
sacrificed. Yeah. Okay.
And the answer might just be, hey, you do these at like different. It's a good blocker for the indestructible side if if your opponent has one 10/10 that doesn't have trample, or if your opponent has a lot of evasion, then you can sacrifice this to like save you by the one thing.
I think that's true, and I guess the cost of the first ability is so high. Giving up my 5/5 to prevent damage to me. Isn't my 5/5 naturally good at keeping me from taking damage? Like it blocks stuff, right? Um, I feel like if we lead with the other ability, hey, I can sack creatures to gain indestructible end of turn. That's sort of the like, yes, you will give up your life to protect me. But then the sacrifice myself, it kind of like boosts the pragmatism part of like, well, if I have to die, that's just the conclusion that we have. If I started with this is a really powerful thing that is like giving up other people's lives for its benefit, like then the stinger of like, well, and I also abide by my own rules. It feels pretty white, and I don't know, feels cool.
Yeah. I think 5 mana 5/5 that can do other things, I would consider playing that. You know what I mean? Like if we're thinking about, is a player going to put this in a deck? If I can cast this, this might be the threat I need to just march through opponent's removal or anything like that, or protect me against a aggressive board, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, this is quite a solid limited card, like just like a combat superiority. Like I have a 5/5, it's going to attack. You probably got to chump block it because you're going to have a real hard time killing it because I can sack any of these creatures to keep it alive. The first turn it's out, it's an awesome blocker. It'll survive until your next turn. So all those things I think in limited are quite solid. I think the sack to fog is not something you're really ever want to get. Like you got to be real desperate to do that in limited.
It also is a funny thing where it's an ability that its existence makes it activated less.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have this, your opponent is going to know, okay, I can't Alpha Strike. I
Okay.
can't just tap all my creatures and attack in because you
Yeah.
can sacrifice your pragmatism and then swing back and kill
Yeah.
me, if we've got a limited board with enough creatures or something like that. And so because of that, your opponent will play potentially more carefully and be like, okay, do you want to
Hmm.
trade your pragmatism for 5 life points? Do you want to trade it for, like, if I'm attacking with my 4/4 in the air or something, like, versus attacking in with everything and leaving no blockers back? That that too is one of those weird things of, do we want to design abilities that cause themselves to be activated less often, that exist in the strategic threat of application?
Yeah, I guess maybe that's I don't know, the gotcha level of this card is maybe a little bit high if we're trying
Mhm.
to aim for foundations.
Which gets a 1 thumbs up from me because I find chessiness to be sometimes really interesting,
Yeah.
and one, like, not sure my second thumbs up because chessiness can be absolutely overwhelming to, like, mental states and board states, and that's not what everybody comes to Magic for, and
Mhm.
it's important to not proliferate that too much in our designs.
Yeah, and I think this would be fine in a general case, but if we're aiming for that foundations bonus point, maybe it's a little awkward there.
Exactly, yeah. I think it fits both the white and black bonus
Yeah.
points.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
f
True.
the flavor text here is a classic one. It's Some rise by sin and some by virtue fall, which
Oh.
is we've got our Shakespeare here that I
Oh,
think
okay.
also kind of neatly hits the two abilities.
Mm.
If we swap their order a little bit,
Yeah.
rise by sin. Hey, I'm indestructible while all of the creatures around me are getting sacrificed, and some by virtue fall. But I will sacrifice myself to prevent the damage to the higher power,
Hmm.
to the planeswalker, to the player.
Yeah, very cool. Thanks for the submission.
Our next submission is from Mothyog. It's Archon of the Demiurge. It's 2 black and a black. That's 4 mana for a 4/4 enchantment creature Archon Incarnation.
Mm.
And this is specifically labeled as a rare from Foundations too. It has Trap in the Kenlama. If a non-land permanent card would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, you may exile it instead. You may cast cards exiled this way and may spend mana as though it were of any type to do so. Do this only once each turn, unless this creature was invoked. This effect continues until end of turn if this creature leaves the battlefield
Whoa.
without being sacrificed.
Mm.
And then it has Invoke for 1 into black. It's 2 mana. You may cast this spell for its invoke cost anytime you could cast an instant. If you do, it can't block and is sacrificed next upkeep.
Next upkeep.
Okay. So,
So invoke. I
mhm.
can cast this spell for its invoke cost, blah, blah, blah. And rather than dying right away like evoke, it lasts until the next upkeep.
Mhm.
But its ability, if it gets invoked, lasts at least until the end of turn. So the creature won't last, but the effect will.
But then on the second turn, if it's being sacrificed during the upkeep,
Hmm.
this effect continues until end of turn if this creature leaves the battlefield without being sacrificed. So you have a broader
Oh.
window to like bounce it or do have some other way of getting it off the battlefield that isn't sacrificing.
Oh. Okay. So it does end right away if you or once it sacks from being invoked. So I
Mhm.
cast this during my opponent's turn. Some stuff dies or whatever. It's due to be sacrificed during my upkeep. It gets sacrificed during my upkeep. The rules say continues until end of turn if it leaves the battlefield without being sacrificed. So the effect does end right away on my upkeep. So I was only absorbing souls during my opponent's turn.
Right.
Hmm.
Unless now because you had an upkeep, you were able to untap and do something
Yeah.
with this. It is interesting that you can do this only once each turn unless this creature was invoked. So I do, hopefully maybe I have 6 mana out. A lot of
Hmm.
times you're evoking because you don't have enough mana for the main cost, but maybe in this case I'm invoking for 1 in a black. And I say, great, I can, if you mill or your creatures die or, any number of things get cards into your graveyard, I can cast those creatures or artifacts or I guess planeswalkers and be able to spend my mana to do that now, except the trickiness of trying to invoke this on your opponent's turn, because you don't want to invoke it on your turn. But these are non-land permanents, and non-land permanents kind of by default don't necessarily have flash. And so you wouldn't actually necessarily be able to cast those on your opponent's turn.
You may cast cards exiled this way. You may spend mana as though a man of any type. So I think that it's only the exile that is temporary, but the permission to cast it from exile maybe lasts forever.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I would say
That
that we
makes
are working pretty hard just to even know what we're allowed to do with this card.
uh-huh.
Not to say that the card isn't cool or that it would be fun to play or powerful or desirable. I think those are probably true. But I'm getting like Ice Age rules text vibes from some of this of like, do this once he's turned unless blah blah blah. Continue to tell him to turn and unless blah blah blah.
Uh-huh.
It feels like it's being balanced too hard.
I do think this is a thing where if just like magic templating were different,
Hmm.
there are parts of this that could be easier to understand. If like you can cast cards exile this way and spend mana as though any time to do so, and like that casting doesn't have a timing window to it. If
Yeah.
the like heist sort of thing was like
Yeah.
keyworded in some way, then we go, okay, great. You can heist. It's the exile thing that is the once each turn, or it's the cast thing that is once each turn. In which of these effects lasts until end of turn?
Hmm.
The just like continuum of sentence to sentence is
Mhm.
harder to interpret in like English sentences without like symbols or whatever. Whereas
Mhm.
if we could, bracket this text in some way and then be like, hey, the text in these brackets is the one that continues, or this part is reminder text
Yeah.
in the way that like from anywhere is kind of put in the middle of this paragraph in reminder text parentheticals.
Yeah, I think that it's the maybe the almost like the double restriction that are both
Mhm,
conditional that
mhm,
is
mhm.
really making it so that I feel like I can't hold the whole card in my head at a time. I don't know.
How do you feel about invoke, which Mother says invoke is a long evoke or a fast warp
Mm.
sort of setup? It works best by making a proactive, continuous, or static ability into something reactive too.
Mm.
Cheaper, instant speed, but temporary. Otherwise, evoke, with ETBs.
Yeah, like if you had if the black card was instead creatures your opponents control get -1/-1, like a anti-anthem. That you can't really do with Evoke. Now it's kind of cool. Like it lasts long enough to matter. And so because of that, I think that's kind of sweet. I think I am so used to end a turn being when things end
Hmm.
that having it be until the upkeep feels a little, I don't know. I have to use a little more brain power to keep track that it's until an upkeep instead of until end of turn.
And I can definitely see the like Ice Age component that you were suggesting before there
Yeah.
because of I've the only word I have for it in my head is slow trips. I
Yeah.
don't know what the actual like term for it
Yeah.
is, but like a cantrip is drawing a card. A slow trip is, well, you will draw a card, and it is just draw a card, but
Mm.
it's next upkeep draw a card.
Yeah.
The place that I think most people encounter that these days is Mishra's Bauble.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I would say that those effects are annoying. Like, not to say this card suffers from that,
Mhm.
but like the effects that draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep in any sort of complicated turn, it's like, oh yeah, and I got to like put a die on top of my deck or a die on top of your deck to remember we do something on your turn before draw.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas like if it's something until end of turn, maybe this effect just doesn't work the way that Moth wants it to work if it is until end of turn,
Mhm.
but you got to have a real strong reason to make Invoke work this way. And I haven't yet seen why that's true. Like, why is it so much better to last until the upkeep instead of lasting until end of turn? I'm not totally convinced yet.
I wonder if it is because of a like +1/+1 or -1/-1, like a one of those sequencing things where okay, and now your +1/+1 was on a permanent, so it left, and so then
Hmm.
everything dies like before the damage, like stuff around that
Yeah,
sometimes happens, but isn't that's usually been resolved at this point in how the
yeah,
sequencing goes. I could imagine a world where, hey, this set, not a foundation set, but maybe
mm,
like another set that you're working on, every effect just lasts until the next upkeep. That's just like nothing is till end of turn. Everything is
sure,
till next upkeep. And so
yeah,
you treat upkeep as, hey, that's the time that things end, rather than that's the
yeah.
time that things begin, particularly.
Okay, we haven't really talked about the point of the card because we're stuck talking about some of this other stuff, and I feel a little bit bad
Sure.
about that because if I just hand wave the rules stuff, like let's not worry about the specifics of the rules of the like lasting until end of turn, upkeep, blah blah blah, like all that kind of stuff, and I just explain, hey, while this guy's around, I'm going to eat everything that hits your graveyard, and I can cast it later. And if I need to, I could get basically like just a turn's worth of that for 2 mana instead of like, a couple turns worth for 4 mana. That is a cool effect, starting to absorb stuff. I absorb more and more cards. I'm not even playing my own hand anymore. I get to build a
Mhm.
deck in a new way because if I can like reliably have an effect like this in play, like I don't quite need that many permanents of my own. I can live the thief lifestyle, which is like kind of an emerging black ready sort of
Mhm.
play
Mhm.
pattern in EDH, and is quite fun. Like my opponents will want to read this. I play this. This is a game changing effect. My opponents need to know how it works, and so they have to read it, and so they have to reread it, and so they have to like ask you like, did you invoke it? Like they have to know how this card works in order to play around it because it is so important.
Yeah. I also wonder if, in addition to kind of the heisty thief thing potentially
Mhm.
being keyworded or not, this effect continues until end of turn if this creature leaves the battlefield without being sacrificed is such a specific line of text that
Mm.
do we need it, or are there other things that we don't need to like to work around it or something?
Yeah.
Or is that something that we like, hey, this is such a particular thing, but it's going to show up on 10 cards in this set and then like eventual stuff in the future? So that needs to be like keyworded so that people understand, hey, this is that like lingering sort of text that we can start using places.
And man, I'm feeling so negative on this. The play value
Hey,
is high. It's just the rules value is really tough.
it's a 4/4 for 4, which, isn't bad, plus this extra potential card advantage or making your opponent go, "Well, do I want to be doing my graveyard stuff when
Hmm.
like this is graveyard hate as well in a particular way?" This certainly fits the black bonus point of, you know, we're calling it out, I think, on multiple
Mm.
levels, both of the Kenlama and of the Demiurge being present. And this does say Foundations 2 on it, so we can't say it's not printed in Foundations 2
Yeah.
in a fun way. Mathiag also mentions it's a enchantment creature because powerful static abilities are very enchantmenty,
Yeah.
and other pseudo until
Love
end of
that.
turns effects are on enchantments like Dress Down and Underworld Breach,
Hmm.
which are two examples of cards that, like, if templating existed slightly differently, might be sorceries, but instead are enchantments for
Hmm.
a number of like both layers and balancing sort of reasons.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. Cool card. Thanks for the submission. You would want to cast this.
Mhm.
Next up from Just Nigel, we've got Unbridled Heresy. Wow. One and black red hybrid. So 3 mana, mixture of black and red. It's a 3/1. So 3 mana, 3/1, creature elemental incarnation at mythic. When this card is put into your graveyard from anywhere, you may pay 2 mana. If black was spent this way, target player exiles a card from their hand. If red was spent this way, exile the top card of your library. All right. As long as this card is in your graveyard, you may play cards exiled with it and spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast them. Okay. So the first clause, we'll get into how, powerful that is later, but the first clause like lets you spend black to zap a card from their hand of their choice and then red to zap a top card of your library, but they just go away by default. But as long as this is in your graveyard, you're unlocking the ability to cast either of those cards.
And I hate to open with this question, but Tim, I have to ask,
Yeah.
does this work?
Like is the exile tied to this card as it changes zones? Is that sort of what you're thinking?
Yeah, yeah. And
That's a good question.
when a card is in your graveyard, in some ways it loses what I would call like its instantiation. Like the
Yeah.
things that trigger it to elements on the battlefield.
Hmm. That's a good point. Yeah.
If I had a creature that, like, hey, as long as this is in your graveyard, you can exile it, targeting a creature that this, or a player that this creature attacked this turn. I'm like,
Hmm.
maybe, but I don't actually know what things we're able to make work out of like specific beats general versus like don't work in
Hmm.
the same. It's just a interesting thing because we play a paper card game with thousands of pages of
Uh,
rules and
yeah.
everything compared to a like computer. If this was entirely a digital game, it would be like, okay,
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
the thing will remember. But because like graveyard is a zone that things can get put into and out of.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I think you're correct. I think the card does not function currently. You would need like a marker counter or something. Put a heresy
Mhm.
counter on each of those cards. You know, you
Which
may cast cards with heresy counters on them. Blah blah blah.
the Valky Tybalt, I think, uses an emblem
Okay.
for
Yeah.
this in order
Hmm.
to keep track of stuff despite being different amounts of game object or potentially like leaving the battlefield and coming back. And it's
Hmm.
like, hey, you can cast or you can access the cards that have been exiled by creatures with this name
Hmm.
or something like that.
Hmm.
Which I'm not saying that this card needs an emblem solution, just that that's how that solution has been gotten to in the past.
Hmm. Hmm. As things change zones, they kind of forget choices like that.
Hmm.
That doesn't seem too hard to repair if we're trying to do
Sure.
that. It
Hmm.
maybe
Hmm.
does get us into this is already a 9-liner and it would get us into a 10-liner maybe, so maybe we would need to adapt the card in other ways in order to make it function. I think I also want to just talk about the overall playability of it.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
3 mana 3/1, not awesome, but acceptable. And then we know that
Hmm.
it has like a awesome death trigger. This is like to the level where I kind of want to wait until I have 5 mana so I can make sure to keep up this death trigger because the death trigger is so good. An opponent discarding a card basically, and then me also drawing a card. That is awesome and worth sort of playing your game differently so you have access to the mana you need.
Hmm.
The other piece about this that I think is true for your sort of like memory cards, knowing what cards were exiled by what, is this says when this card is put into your graveyard from anywhere. So we're even talking like Narcomoeba, whatever stuff.
Right.
And so like I can self mill this and then pay 2 and then cause my opponent to discard cards like by self milling, which is really strong. I think it was intentionally really strong because this is like a tiny creature who's a mythic. So I think that just Nigel's aiming for a really powerful card. But boy, they did make it quite powerful.
I had forgotten about the from anywhere
Yeah.
clause, which I think really makes this. Okay, technically, from anywhere is, I believe, a prepositional phrase. But anyways, um, the especially because like target player exiles a card from their hand, so you can make your opponent discard in many cases. But if you are doing like weird Narcomoeba things, or maybe like
Hmm.
I'm imagining some like Lion's Eye Diamond sort of situations or
Hmm.
something where, hey, I'm going to exile the top card of my library and a card from my hand
Hmm.
to be able to cast them as though like any color was meant to cast them, or just to be like, okay, I just need two more, draw a card, discard a card, like triggers or something. Like here's I'm gonna get a little like haggle, just little bits like that to be able to get some value. I do think playing this in a fair grindy graveyard sort of way is probably that most compelling part because of that value. But playing this as a combo piece in a mill everything into my graveyard and then get some extra value in some particular way, or set up a combo piece that I need to have an exile rather than in my hand.
Hmm.
Maybe play Unbridled Heresy in your Hedron alignment deck.
Oh.
Hedron alignment being the weird. win condition card that wants to have a copy of it in your hand, exile, graveyard, and battlefield, I think.
Mhm. Very powerful card. This is aiming to do something that is kind of outside of what a card would normally do. Like put into a graveyard from anywhere. We're already in kind of a new zone. So maybe we've run into challenges if we want to have that from anywhere clause, and we want to have putting heresy counters on exiled cards, and we have to acknowledge those. Like maybe we do start to hit too many words.
Hmm.
But this is like a cube sort of like, I'm a hardcore player. I want to really put the screws on my opponent type card. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, for sure.
And the good thing is, despite it being 9 lines, or potentially even 10 with the other things,
Mhm.
what it is trying to do is
Yeah,
relatively clear or straightforward. And the case,
yeah,
once you're not reading the card, it's easy enough to follow, if that makes sense, which is
yeah.
helpful when you have a lot of text. If that text can be solving the rules problem, but shortcutted in the player's brain, who goes, "Oh yeah, I can play all of those. This is in the
Mhm,
graveyard.
mhm.
Great. I don't have to worry about the particulars." I think this card's art and name together implies to me a Warhammer 40K sort of
Yeah,
situation. We
that
got
kind of
a
heresy. Yeah, yeah,
a metal monster elemental incarnation sort of thing. Its name is, I think, kind of funny because it's unbridled heresy, which sounds like something
yeah,
someone would say in like Warhammer or a similar situation. Unbridled, though,
yeah.
being a cowboy word
Oh.
because it's
Okay,
what you do
now,
with a horse, and heresy being part
all
of
right.
Gnosticism and kind of
Uh,
what matters. Yeah.
At first, I thought you were going to say something about like, unlike all the normal bridled heresy, where
Uh-huh.
where we normally have a lot of heresy that is highly under control. Here we've got some. Finally, the heresy gets to be out of control.
Uh-huh. No, no, just like 20-second aside. There is a lot of bridled heresy. Like,
Oh,
there is a
okay.
lot
Mm,
a lot of people do in a world where heresy has any meaning at all and
okay.
is somewhat alike to our own world.
Mm,
A lot of people do things that you might call heretical, but
mm,
aren't doing it with the intention of, I'm doing it on purpose because it is heresy, and I'm doing it publicly in a way that I'm acknowledging that it is heresy. That those
okay.
two things are really different and like mark certain behaviors. If you think about somebody saying, "Hey, I am outside of the current political system entirely, and
Mm,
I'm going to do so in a public way and in a disruptive way," that is different than having small feelings or actions where you go, "Yeah, I don't know about this stuff. I don't agree with it." Like
all right.
those are substantive, like the gap between them, such that calling something unbridled heresy, it's like, wow, you have the gall or the power to be willing to break the rules and say, I know I'm breaking the rules, and
Mm,
everyone knows I'm breaking the rules.
mm,
Yeah,
okay.
that's the aside on on the bridleness
The
of.
bridledness of heresy. Yeah.
Uh-huh, exactly. Do you know off the top of your head the name of the, it's like a legendary creature who the like +1/+1 counters stay on?
Oh, Skullbriar.
Skullbriar. I was like, it's not a Boro, but it is it that one? Is it the one with a name like that?
Yeah, counters are made on
Skull.
Skullbriar. Blah blah blah. Yeah.
Yeah. Any zone other than player's hand or library are also the zones where like the thing keeps what I call the like instantiation,
Uh,
where it doesn't become potentially mixed with other versions of itself, which
mhm,
Unbridled Heresy might be able to pull off. And you just go, listen, as soon as you might be confused about which Unbridled Heresy it is,
mhm.
then it's gone. And just
Mm.
somebody could point and be like, Skullbriar exists, therefore.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a thing I hadn't considered because you're going to be playing multiple of these heresies.
Hmm.
Which one do I have to target with my graveyard removal to make sure you don't cast my removal spell?
Yeah.
Huh.
And is that
Okay.
going to be easier to keep apart in paper where you can talk through, or in
Uh,
like arena or something like that where you're like, okay, I
yeah.
hover over this and which of these gets highlighted?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, like I have to have in my graveyard, I have to sort of have like a second graveyard that's just the heresy and it's one victim, and then the second one and it's two victims. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
interesting.
Okay, if I have an Unbridled Heresy, it leaves the battlefield. I spend the mana, I get 2 cards exiled with it. It's in my
Hmm.
graveyard.
Hmm.
I return it to the battlefield.
Hmm.
I can't cast those cards anymore.
Yeah,
Un- Unbridled Heresy dies again.
yeah.
I activate it again. Do I have 4 cards I can cast
Hmm.
with it? Because it's like kept its identity in a way that cards don't normally keep their identity?
Hmm.
Or are there 2 cards that I can cast with it, just the most recent 2? That is something that, like, I
Hmm.
think we can come up with multiple answers that have, oh, of course, this is just the way the rules work, but it would come down to like a magic rules person saying, this is
Hmm.
what the rules from now on are going to be for this type of card.
Hmm. Yeah, it does kind of need that kind of clarification to it.
Mhm.
All right, what's next?
What's next is. Bum, 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 bum. Our next submission is from Auxiliary Otter.
Hmm.
It's Reincarnation.
There you go.
It is 4 mana that's black, black, red, red for a 3/1. It's a creature incarnation at rare with haste, trample. At the beginning of the end step, sacrifice this creature.
Hmm.
You may cast spells from your graveyard. If a card would be put into your graveyard from anywhere this turn, exile that card instead.
Oh.
And then it has plot with a cost of exile a black card and a red card from your hand, which is to say you exile a black card and a red card from your hand and then exile Reincarnation, and you can just cast it on a future turn without paying
Hmm.
its mana cost.
Hmm. So this is like Yawgmoth's Will. You can cast spells from your graveyard if they blah 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 exile them. So I could just recast cards from my graveyard, maybe a couple of them. Before I get to plot, this is kind of hard to do because I'm spending 4 mana just to get this into play. When it's in play, I mean it's a hasty 3 power, so it doesn't do nothing. But what I kind of want to be able to do is plot this so I have so many extra cards, or because I'm going to be recasting cards, I don't mind basically exile discarding 2 cards to get this
Mhm.
plotted. And then I don't get to haste it right away. I have to haste it in a future turn, but maybe that's still pretty fun because then I get to like fire off anything else I still have remaining, trade off all my remaining creatures, pop this out of the plot, and plop it into play. I still have all my mana. I can recast hopefully 2, 3, 4 cards from my graveyard, get a ton of value. Cowboy Minotaur is happy.
Yeah. I would expect to potentially be trying to plot this turn 1 as much as possible so that you can
Yeah.
have untapped mana and do a thing on turn 2, maybe turn 3. This as a like Underworld Breach, Yawgmoth's Will, etc. This feels like such a combo card to me in a way that's like it's not a bad thing for the
Yeah.
incarnation to be, but it does make it feel less like a creature,
Which
if
is
that makes
maybe
sense.
not an awful thing for an incarnation. Like feeling
Mhm.
less like a. The picture of it is like just a cowboy minotaur. So it's
Uh-huh.
it's a very tangible thing. Who apparently also rides on a horse, which is kind of cool.
Uh-huh.
The art is maybe pulling it away from that sort of vagueness that you're describing. Whereas I can see the vision of it being. If it wasn't a joke name, I could see the vision of it being this sort of like half spell, half creature entity.
Which, like we mentioned before, something like an Underworld's Breach being targetable on the battlefield is
Hmm.
meant, I think, to be a balancing consideration in addition to like a making the rules work
Yeah.
consideration.
There's a complicated effect that is happening. Let us have it be a permanent existing on the battlefield.
Mhm.
Like maybe Dress Down's a little bit like that, where when you cast Yawgmoth's Will, you're then going to do a bunch of other stuff, but the reason you're allowed to do all that other stuff is a thing that's like now not
Mhm.
accessible anywhere. Whereas with an Underworld Breach, that's an enchantment that sits until end of turn, or Reincarnation, this is a creature that sits around until it gets sacked end of turn. And that's kind of nice. If an effect is complicated enough, let it exist on the battlefield.
The haste and trample components are fine. And like maybe you do want the 3 power as part of your
Hmm.
your setup. Haste, trample, sacrifice this on a 3/1. Like we've seen this
Yeah.
before, but I think even more emphasizes that you want to be plotting this card and that its mana cost is mostly to make it so you can't like cascade into it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be paying. But then on the other hand, sometimes you do like hard cast a Past in Flames. So maybe question mark?
Yeah. We're shackling the busted combo effect to a mediocre creature.
Spark Elemental? Is that a 3/1 haste trample?
I don't know, Bark
Sacrifice this under turn? Yeah.
Elemental. Bark Elemental? I don't know that one.
Mm. Spark Elemental. Spark tokens.
Oh, Spark. I thought you
Yeah.
said bark like tree bark.
Oh yeah. Dogs. Yeah.
Yeah. Woof.
Yeah, Spark Elemental, single red mana for a
Hmm.
3/1 trample haste and a turn. Sacrifice this. Originally printed in
Oh, yeah.
5th Dawn.
Oh, okay.
Reprinted in 10th edition, which is where I would have known it.
I'd say making this a creature, a 3/1 haste trample, and having it cost that extra mana or two is a downside. Like the combo player would rather it be 2 or 3 mana and not be a creature. They would be happier doing that. They're unlikely to get the value out of the 3/1 trample. I guess maybe you need like a couple fewer grape shots now for your storm, but maybe the plug or maybe the pitch here is that like by making it a creature, we're moving it a little bit closer to normal magic, where I might hypothetically like cast this in limited and then fire off a kill spell for my it's like a Snapcaster Mage almost. Maybe a little expensive, but I get a removal spell. I swing in for 3. Now my opponent dies because I can Alpha Strike or something. Um, the thing that pulls it back away from that is the plot cost, which is only for sickos, exiling a black card and a red card from your hand.
Tell me about the cycle that this is in.
Yeah, I guess the common ground is probably at least the plot exile a X and a Y from your hand.
Uh-huh.
Maybe also the beginning of your end step sack this creature, maybe.
Maybe I can see the plot, specifically if you think about like the pitch elemental cycle from Modern Horizons 2, Fury Endurance, that sort of thing. I'm going to get rid of these cards in advance, and you're going to see what I'm up to,
Hmm.
like in this kind of proactive way that maybe you don't have like a pull from eternities or something that you can use to interact there, but maybe you can do other things. Maybe you can just clear my graveyard. Maybe who knows
Hmm.
what. I do think though, if you have a cycle of these and they don't all have sacrifice this creature, manaless plot is pretty risky to
Hmm.
just put on the battlefield. If you're pitching a grief, you're exiling a black card to put grief onto the battlefield, and then you might use the not really dead card or like ephemerate or something like that
Mm-hmm.
to blink it. And so you are kind of spending 3 cards to get this incarnation body and like its spell like effect. So that's not so strange, but that does require having like specific cards and spending some mana involved. Plot being free and that any of these creatures can just come onto the battlefield on turn 2 as a result
Hmm.
means like, yeah, you're putting a lot of investment in, which you can then be blown out, but we don't print artifact lands these days because like, yeah, hyper accelerated start that can lead you to a bigger blowout is a thing that happens in Magic, but it's not a thing that we want to really design and push for
Hmm.
because it's like it leads to shorter, less interactive games both directions.
Making the whole cycle, they're going to mess up with one of those power wise. Like something's going to be too powerful. Does this feel like we started with the joke and then we designed a card off of it, the reincarnation? I think it's a fun submission.
Mhm.
Getting this to actually be a card either the combo player or the draft player would want is a little bit challenging. But yeah, at least the effort's definitely there. This is a cool one.
I'm on board with the fun of it, even if we would change some things if we were cycling it out. Yeah.
Hmm.
And reincarnation,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll give you the cowboy and Gnostic dualism, sure.
Yeah.
Why
Lock in the
not?
bonus points, maybe not lock in. You could make a cycle out of this. Yeah. All right. Our second to last is going to be from Pasnebiku, aka Pat. It's Ms. You're just going to do that once an episode now? Is that just your go to?
It's
The
when
card.
you least expect it. It's
Yeah.
when it's the least surprising.
I almost
Like
plowed
the
through it
fact
too. I was almost ready.
that
Uh,
Patsuni Biku is Pat, our friend Pat. Wow. Yeah.
the card here is Merzos, the hypostatic bloom,
Hmm.
4 black green for a 5/5. So 6 mana 5/5. Legendary creature Otter Incarnation. When this enters, conjure 4 cards named Giant Growth into your library. They perpetually gain Storm, then shuffle. Whenever the power or toughness of a creature you control increases, draw a card. This ability triggers only 10 times each turn.
Yeah. Okay.
All
Okay.
right, so we got multiple kind of you having fun with 10 times per turn.
Yeah, I'm having fun with this card across the board. I
All
don't
right.
normally start laughing mid go,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
yeah.
So we got double arena tech here because we have conjuring. So this is like creating extra cards that then like are not tokens that sort of exist for the rest of the game into the library. We get 4 extra giant growths. Do I want to shuffle 4 giant growths in my library? Not usually, but they perpetually gain storm. So now I can start to see where we're going here. I want to be able to like play some other spell and then a giant growth. A double giant growth is quite a card. Like +6/+6 is a ton of effect. And if that's not enough, because that is kind of a delayed effect that's going to take, a couple turns for you to even draw the first storm giant growth. The other thing that we get to do here is whenever the power or toughness of a creature you control increases, draw a card up to 10 times a turn. So not like an infinite, but as many times as you could naturally do, really. So I can get to those cool stormed up giant growths.
Yeah. Okay. So I think it's important to recognize how this pairs with and is inspired by Indris the Hydrostatic Surge,
Mm.
a Alchemy Bloom Burrow card that
Mm-hmm.
is 4 blue and a red for a legendary creature Otter Incarnation 5/5. When Indris enters, conjure 4 cards named Lightning Bolt into your library.
Mm.
They perpetually gain Storm, then shuffle. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, draw a card.
Mm. This is templated quite closely to that. Like the
Yeah.
whole first clause is the same, but for a different card. And then the second clause is like draw a card, when you do the thing related to the card you shuffled in.
It is funny to me to see like yeah, and one of the things we're gonna like tightly bring along is that also the black green one is also gonna be an otter.
Yeah.
Like
The Council of
it's like
Otters
of two color
across all
otters.
colors. Yeah.
Yeah, the white red
Mhm.
otter, the black green otter. Yes. And the way that like lightning bolt and storm and stuff naturally fit together with an instant and sorcery
Mhm.
theme, whereas this we're doing it with a creature theme. If
Mhm.
anything, I think I like this card better than Indris because it despite being a copy of Indris in many ways, it feels more unique because it's doing something that I don't just go, oh yeah, okay, it's a blue red card, it's doing that stuff. What's the keep keeping is it player busy
Yeah.
playtest sort of card here? This is doing something somewhat unique, I would say. Only 10 times a turn, perpetually gain storm.
Mhm.
I don't know. This card is fun. I
Mhm.
also like the idea of like blinking Mirzas the hypostatic bloom until you have like 12 cards
Yeah.
named Giant Growth with Storm in your library.
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
could be somewhat interesting. And then you're just every time you cast one, you're drawing a card and then drawing another one. And
Hmm.
yeah. If your library
Yeah.
is only Giant Growths with Storm, that sounds pretty good. Draw 10 of those, cast 10 of those.
Yeah, and each time you cast one, you draw another one that has storm. So once you
Uh-huh.
start hitting them, you're going to hit more and more of them, and then you're going to have 200 power.
this definitely feels like a card I would want to play in EDH and not
Hmm.
in other situations, probably. I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe you just play this in limited because it's not nothing.
You play it in Brawl,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess this also implies that the cycle here are the alpha boons. So we're going to get the
Mhm,
Ancestral Recall Simic card. We're going to get the Dark
mhm.
Ritual Orzhov card. And then for some reason,
Yeah.
the Boros one is Healing Solve.
Yeah.
uh,
With hopefully, whenever you gain life, you, like,
yeah.
deal 3 damage to any target and
Oh,
draw a
okay.
card.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you make
Yeah.
healing
Mm,
salves into lightning helixes with storm?
yeah. What is the clause on the Simic Ancestral Recall one?
Whenever you draw a card, discard a card. So you actually wanna, like,
Hmm.
remove this creature fr
Hmm.
Ancestral Recall with storm is
I guess kind of a liability at some point. Like once you cast your fourth one that turn, you're probably out of cards.
but, like, you can al it storm is just that
Just
turn.
decline to
You can
cast
just
them. Yeah.
cast an Ancestral Recall each turn and not like,
Yeah.
I do this does make me want a keyword which just says, "When you cast this spell, copy it for each card with the same name in your graveyard."
Oh,
Like, do,
like a
like, an
Kindle.
ancestral
Yeah.
knowledge, Kindle, that sort of thing, just as a
Yeah.
keyword that we could give to things. That to me seems inevitable, that, like, one day that's going to be the right keyword for a set and it's going to be printed for whatever reason. I don't how do you balance the dark ritual with storm in an
Mm.
Orzhov deck to make that
Mhm. Mhm.
that white? Who could say? But the card here absolutely fits the main design challenge because we were looking for an incarnation as a member of a cycle, and this is an incarnation clearly
Yeah.
as a member of a cycle.
Mhm.
And bloom, that's a flower thing.
Mm.
Hypostatic, like the hypostasis, is a really funny way to riff off of
Hydrostatic. Yeah.
hydrostatic. That is th- this is really making me chortle and guffaw. It's
Mm.
I'm laughing with this card. And yeah, I kinda wanna click the spoiler text to see. Mirza, the name of another family of lemurs. Also, would you believe me if I said this was for a new set called Alchemy Foundations?
Mm.
Uh, maybe?
I think I would be kind of more interested in like a alchemy foundations than the normal like 15 alchemy cards we get. Like
Yeah.
give me 100 plus cards that are all kind of alchemy-ish. I'm
Yeah.
intrigued. No one else is, but I am. Yeah. Wild card is the bonus points. Seems like it almost would work. It's like very expensive like the other one, so it's like kind of hard to break, but you get to at least have a ton of fun when you cast it successfully.
Yeah. If I was playing in Paper Commander with the same group
Mhm.
of people, I would probably ask, "Hey, can we like rule 0
Hmm.
this to be a legal Paper Commander if we all like are on the up and up?" And I don't know,
So
maybe.
instead of like Elder Dragon Highlander, the five of us are going to play like Otter, Storm, Incarnation Lander. I don't know.
Yeah, I just think Otter Incarnation Highlander,
Yeah, yeah,
like OIH.
yeah.
Who knows?
All right, what's our last card?
Our last submission for today is from Ash, and the card name is Oracle.
Oh,
It's 5 mana, that's 3 generic, 1 blue, and 1 black. For a creature elemental incarnation, it's a 3/5 for 5 mana. It has Vigilance and Menace and Ward. Each opponent scries 3. Whenever you
hmm.
scry, Fate Seal X, where X is the number of cards looked at while scrying this way. When prophecy would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile it face down instead, and it becomes foretold. Its foretell cost is its mana cost. I
Oh,
assume that's like card name, and maybe this card got changed from prophecy to oracle or
Oh,
from oracle to prophecy.
yeah. I guess starting from the bottom there, this is kind of a way for this to survive longer. Like we saw, maybe the Amonkhet gods were a little bit like this. If this would be put in a graveyard, exile it face down, and then you can recast it for its mana cost.
Hmm.
Foretell is the one where you sort of prepay two and then have to pay like some additional cost. So you're not really cheating mana wise with this. You still have to repay for it. It just exists in exile instead of a graveyard.
Which is kind of the equivalent of when this dies, put it in your hand. Like it's
Yeah.
not that, but it's
Yeah.
pretty close.
It's pretty close to when it dies put in your hand. That's a good point. Except that this also says when it be put in a graveyard from anywhere. So if you mill
Ooh.
it, like we talked about earlier, it becomes foretold. So we're, I don't know, for some reason hitting the same sort of. I don't know why we talk about Dredge every episode, but we're going to do it again.
Uh-huh.
Just dump a bunch of cards from my graveyard now and draw on a bunch of oracles.
Yeah.
um,
Which,
people love it for
which
some reason.
admittedly, that's an oracle thing to do because of
Mm.
Thassa's oracle. Put your whole library somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
then somehow get Thassa's oracle and cast it is like a major factor in a whole bunch of different combo decks in a whole bunch
Mm-hmm.
of different formats. And so this being like, okay, this doesn't have a win you the game element, but it does have a toss your whole deck and then pull out. Like that's part of what oracles are now in Magic, I think, is this thing that you try to get out of your graveyard or whatever after you've put your whole library there.
Hmm.
Maybe.
All right, so let's actually get to the meat of the card. It has a bunch of keywords, vigilance and menace, and then ward opponent scry 3. So even though it's your card, opponent here refers to you
Hmm.
because your opponent is paying a ward cost of allowing you to scry as the owner of Oracle. And then whenever you scry, Fate Seal X, where X is the number of cards looked at while scrying. So I'll complete my scry 3 or whatever scry. I'll put one back up top, one on the bottom, blah, blah, blah. And then I get to Fate Seal, which is the same as scry, but I pick an opponent. So whenever I scry, I get to muck with the top of my opponent's library. If I notice they have plenty of lands, I make sure to put a land on top. If I notice they have no lands, I make sure to bottom all the lands. And then some other decisions within that as well.
Yeah. I'm jumping to the spoiler text briefly here where Ash says, now this card probably shouldn't be printed. Fate sealing is just so bad for gameplay, but I couldn't resist. And
Okay.
alt card name, prophecy, parentheses, not the homelands one. Which yeah.
I could not tell you what the Homeland's prophecy does, so
Who could say? There's no way of knowing. That's the wild thing. I agree that fate
I
sealing is
recognize this
bad for
card. Oh, good.
fate sealing is bad for gameplay and compelling for particular card designs when you're trying to express a particular idea and or turn something innocuous into a way to try to like control or win the game. Because if you can fate seal like 2 every turn, that's
Yeah.
that's a way to win the game. If you just have a like tap scry 2 sort of situation amongst any of your permanents, even without needing the ward thing, 3/5 menace, like is that going to win the game on its own, or are you just going to lock down your opponent and then mill them out in some way? Like I think that makes sense.
Maybe it's even sort of nice that we've been given permission by Ash to say that this gameplay is like too brutal, because
Uh-huh,
then we
uh-huh.
get to just sort of appreciate the card for what it is. This is a card for some freak gameplay that we don't really like to promote generally, but that it could exist. Like we can read the card, we can imagine how it would play out. How fun is it to scry all the time? That is something that I, got on your card. Hey, surveil 2ing all the time. That felt like it might add some time to a game. Scrying and then fate sealing all the time. That's going to make the entire game about that.
Yeah.
Because you're playing like Dan or something, but controlling like what people are drawing at all times, or attempting to control what people are drawing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 3/5 menace Vigi, so it's probably attacking in for 3 pretty often. It can keep you from dying. So it has some. It does have combat value in addition to its crazy game altering value.
If somehow you could guarantee that you couldn't play this with any other scry cards,
Hmm.
like this is just printed, this is the only scry card in its
Hmm.
whole format,
Hmm.
then like Vigilance Menace, when your opponent targets this creature, you get to Fate Seal 3. That
Hmm.
that to me, I think is a compelling kind of idea as far
Hmm.
as like, okay, Fate Seal can exist, but your opponent has to specifically trigger it. Like your opponent has to say, okay, yeah, this is worth it. And like they can
Okay.
work around that by using sacrifice effects or by like board wipes or things like that.
Hmm.
But that as a kind of similar to, I feel like we've seen a number of times red cards with kind of when this is targeted by an opponent,
Yeah.
deal damage equal to my power or that sort of thing. Like, hey, you're going to come down with me. In this case, trying to do that in a blue black sort of way, Architects of Will
Hmm.
sort of concepting of, hey, I'm not going to make you lose life. I might make you waste your next 3 turns. Like, is that how does that sit with
Yeah.
you?
Okay. When this
Yeah,
dies, look at the top 3 of your opponent's library and shuffle them around however you want. Scry them. We need to inject some flavor. We can't have a normal ward cost of some life loss or some mana cost. We want to do
hmm,
something a little funkier because of the flavor of the card or because of some other theme. There's miracle in the set and we want to mess with their miracles. Something like that. Yeah. Deploy a little bit of Fate Seal. Maybe not repeated Fate Seal, maybe not Fate Seal that you can trigger with your deck building, but yeah, a little bit of
exactly.
Fate Seal could be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, something as
We
long as it's the opponent. Like, if I have, I don't know. I guess another example would be when your opponent attacks with
Yeah.
4 more
Yeah.
creatures, or like more than 3 creatures, you can Fate Seal 2 or whatever. It's like, okay, yeah,
Mhm.
that seems fair enough because I can try to channel the game such that my opponent really wants to try to do that, but then I'm like limiting them this other way, but I can't make that happen on my own.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think the art description here, where we have like the ink flowing out of them,
Mm.
into or like smoke flowing out like ink. Sure, we've got ink thing,
Mhm.
the like prophecy or like the oracular nature. I'll hand wave, give that the incarnation bonus point. I think we are close enough to count right there. I don't think
Mm.
I'm putting this in foundations, and I do wonder which parts of this get cycled out. I can imagine
Mm.
keyword, ward with a special clause
Okay, cool ward.
being a
Yeah.
cycle.
Okay.
The like oracle prophecy nature doing the foretelling makes me wonder. I'm like, okay, so do all of them have, when this is put into a
Mm.
graveyard from anywhere, do something? And this one
Mm.
is exile foretold. Another one is like put it onto the battlefield with haste and a finality counter decayed, or like,
Mm.
who knows what number of different things we're able to do. Um, Thanks for the submission, Ash.
Alrighty. Yeah. So
Shall we?
that's our 9.
Mhm.
The strategy of splitting these into seemingly tiny episodes of just 8 or 9 cards is paying off once again because we got another chunker for everybody. And I think I'm kind of liking this. I'm looking for feedback on it. We talked a little bit about it in the contributors channel the other day, where if we continue to do these like 25-ish submissions over the course of 3 weeks, that's the majority of the content of the podcast then, because 3 out of 4 or 3 out of 5 weeks are going to be challenge submissions. I really like these deep dives. I feel like I learn a lot and I hope people enjoy them as well. But I am also kind of interested in feedback as to like how this should work. Should Beacon be 2/3 review content? Like it feels really productive. It feels really in the center of the mission of the podcast. But I could also understand if people have other ideas, people want to do something else content wise. One of the reasons that we have started splitting or that we do split these up is because this is like I like to edit these podcasts. I like to take like a 2+ hour recording and get it down to 130, get out some cruff, get out the errors, stuff like that. And I can't do more than, I can't really edit more than 2 hours of audio in a week. I got a full-time job, hobbies, stuff like that. If people are interested in seeing other stuff with Beacon, if people are interested in helping produce episodes or helping edit episodes, that could allow us to continue having all this like hefty review content while also getting some other episode concepts in there. So yeah, I just wanted to open it up. We've been getting a lot of feedback on the challenge stuff recently, and I want to make sure that everybody's included. If you have feedback, anyone at all, feel free to bring it up to me.
Yeah. And I mean, even if the feedback isn't things that we can do, you might
Yeah.
say, I
Okay.
want fewer episodes
Hmm.
of challenge content, and I want the amount of in-depth like discussion of each card. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, that's good to know that those are the two priorities. We can find
Uh-huh.
ways to, figure what we are prioritizing as we do these shows. So
Hmm. Hmm.
let us know. Make your voice heard. MTGO to the polls.
Oh,
Uh,
hell yeah.
uh, Tim, do you have any favorite cards from this crop
Hmm.
of
Yeah.
Incarnation submissions?
These submissions were really interesting because we got a lot of like pretty hefty cards conceptually, like cards that are, for better or worse, relatively like difficult to explain to like an EDH table. I think when I was listening to some of these, like even your inquiry, which I think is a cool card, was it maybe hard to explain over audio? Maybe a little bit. That actually might be like a reasonable test of how complicated the card is. Like if we have to repeat parts of the text in order to get that across, that's sort of what I'm thinking through when I'm looking at these cards. I think it might just be kind of the nature of these big effects. Like people wanted a big swing, and so I think I'm trying to accept the big swinginess of these, even though I don't always like a really wordy card. And I think the card that maybe just inspired my vintage QB sort of brain was Unbridled Heresy. This is a 9-liner. This is and needs another line or two, maybe. This has weird dredge stuff going on. But this was the card that you can pay some extra mana to make your opponent's discard to give you an exile draw. That's the card certainly the card that I was most interested in playing of this crop.
My favorite here is going to be Mirzas, the hypostatic bloom.
Okay.
It brings me a lot of joy. I can really envision trying to play this no matter how it works out. It's kind of fun. If my opponent plays
Mhm.
this and then goes giant growth of storm and, attacks me with 45 power of creatures or whatever, I'm kind of happy with it. I think otters are a fun way to do like silly big things and have people go, There's still a novelty to being attacked or
Hmm.
killed by an otter that channels, big power in this way. And the
Okay.
number of different elements of this that really work out to specifically answer the challenge
Hmm.
and come together to like an interesting and unique card on their own
Hmm.
make this kind of my favorite of the bunch.
There you go. Awesome. We got our new challenge for August. What's that?
Our August design challenge is Augerload. Design a card with overload or similar text or target altering mechanic in the spirit of overload. Our bonus points are August player. The
Hmm.
card
Okay.
features the text target player, and ogre load. The card has an ogre or troll theme.
I like the ogre troll theme. They're going to be smashing a bunch of stuff, having a bunch of fun, and yeah, I think we're going to get another crop of submissions that are a little mind bendy with text changing. Text changing is certainly a thing we haven't seen a ton of in Magic and has a lot of possibilities, a lot of space. So
Yeah.
looking forward to that.
And I'm specifically asking for things in the like spirit of overload because
Hmm. Yeah.
try not to give us like 18 line
Hmm.
cleave with multiple different sets of brackets things if
Yeah.
you can help it.
Yeah.
But feel free to think outside of what specifically Overload as a mechanic can do if you're trying to do something with a permanent, if you're trying to do something else. Yeah, I'm really curious to see what space there is for people to explore.
And that's about it for the podcast for the week. Hop on Discord to submit that card or to talk with everybody. Anything else you want to tell people about?
So Moonshot is doing something kind of fun, which is
Oh.
a Star Wars rewrite
What?
exquisite corpse
What?
relay series of streams where I was on the first one this past week, and the second one is going to be when this episode comes out this Friday, the 21st. And we wrote a new, like, we figured out a new plot and characters and stuff for Star Wars Episode 1, and now a different group are going to come in and make a Star Wars Episode 2 following up on that. And there's some kind of funny rules built into this. It's a fun stream series thing. I'll put the dates and the image in the Discord, but it's a fun way to explore and, and work with Star Wars. And I mean, personally, I have a lot of strong feelings, connections with Star Wars Episode 1, so that's been fun. And you can check all of that out at twitch.tv/Moonshot Network.
Wow. I didn't hear about that one, so I'll have to catch up a little bit.
Yeah, I'll link the YouTube when the first stream is uploaded there.
Awesome. All right, yeah. Find us on Discord to chat it up. And mostly, everyone, thank you all for listening.
And always remember, Minotaurs can be cowboys.